Changes for Apple. After 15 years, Tim Cook is leaving his post as CEO of Apple, and starting in September, he will be the executive chairman of Apple's board of directors. The next CEO will be John Ternus. He's currently Apple's senior vice president of hardware engineering. In a statement, Apple said Ternus started at Apple in 2001 working on the design team. He helped launch the iPad and AirPods. So joining us now to talk about the changes is Mike Isaac, a technology correspondent for the New York Times. Mike, thanks for being here. Do we know why Tim Cook chose right now to step down? What is the timing of all this?
So I would say he's had a pretty good run. It's been 15 years since he took over from Steve Jobs after he passed away. He's 10x'd the company's value to more than $4 trillion. And he's, quadrupled the amount of revenue coming in, profit coming in. So I think for him, there's been rumblings around this for about, the past 6 to 9 months or so. And, when you're 65 years old, you start to sort of think about legacy. What's next? Are you ready to sort of go out on top? And right now, as much as ever, is probably a good note to end on, I would say.
You've done extensive reporting on all things tech and artificial intelligence. So let's talk about where Apple stands in the AI race.
Yeah, well, that is actually a good point as to why he might leave now. AI is the next battle for a lot of these companies, and Apple has its work cut out for it in a lot of ways. They were behind in a number of ways, trying to figure out what a digital assistant should look like, AI powered. They made a few missteps. A number of their executives that were running AI, one of them in particular, is no longer with the company. And so this next era, I think all of the big tech companies really believe is going to be defined by who has the best version of AI running in their products. And, that's a whole nother race that I could see Tim Cook essentially wanting to pass that off to a successor to decide, the verdict of where they end up there. And I think right now they're working on a revamped version of Siri for the future. And as you might have noticed by now, Siri has not been exactly a blockbuster digital assistant so far. So that's hopefully the future for them.
Okay, well, let's talk about the future. John Ternus will take over as CEO. So what is he known for at Apple, and can he fill Tim Cook's shoes?
Yeah, the speculation of who was going to change and fill Tim Cook's shoes has always been this kind of two roads diverge sort of moment, right? You can either go the more Steve Jobs version, someone internally who wants to quote unquote make a dent in the universe, or big visionary type, or the Tim Cook version, which is, steady, sort of sober-minded operations person who knows how to run a giant, multinational conglomerate that's worth trillions of dollars. Ternus is absolutely in the latter camp. He's very low key, similar to Cook. He's an engineering guy. He's a logistics guy. He's someone who knows how the nuts and bolts of this company really run. A lot of insiders inside of the company wouldn't say, he's this grand visionary or whatever. But at the same time, Apple is an enormous company that really requires dealing and managing with a lot of moving parts, including, dealing with diplomatic relations in China, or dealing with President Trump and keeping the US government happy, and just getting iPhones out the door, which is their marquee product, obviously. So I would say, it's not necessarily an error in judgment to pick someone at this point who isn't necessarily the next Steve Jobs, but does know how to manage an enormous ship that Apple has become.
Mike Isaac. Mike, thank you.
Thanks for having me.